It's been about 2 weeks since BattleBit launched Update v2.0, which introduced a laundry list of balancing and gameplay changes to the game that have quite frankly changed it forever. But here we are again. Another significant update looms for BattleBit on the horizon, and it's once again likely to have some big impacts to how the game plays. G'day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here, and today we have a long list of planned updates to BattleBit to talk about here. Okay, there's a lot of stuff to go over in this video. You saw it in the thumbnail and the title. This upcoming update is jam-packed with some pretty solid changes, depending on your perspective, of course. As usual, I ain't gonna make you guys wait around for the big ticket item here today. Let's talk about the can of worms that is lean spamming. Lean spamming is something that you've most likely seen in-game, at least in a limited capacity in your time of playing BattleBit Remastered. Hell, there's a chance that you may have seen it in other first-person shooter games too. But, as of this next update, lean spamming in BattleBit Remastered will be nerfed. Now, we don't exactly know how it's going to be nerfed as of yet, but that nerf is coming. Now, for those who actually don't know what lean spamming is, it's the act of spamming your lean left and right keys mid-firefight to basically make your hitbox much harder to hit. It doesn't really work that well if you start lean spamming and your target is aiming at your center mass or your lower torso, but if you are lean spamming against someone who's aiming for the head, look, let's not beat around the bush, it feels obnoxious to deal with, and it's why people do it. Now, I'm not going to get into this moral grandstanding shouting match about whether lean spamming should or shouldn't be used when it's available in the game legitimately. And let's be real, I'm sure the arguments are going to happen in the comment section down below anyway, so yeah, I'll just let that play out. But I've always been of the opinion that if something is there to be used, and it's, you know, a part of the game from the developers and hasn't been labeled as an exploit or a game-breaking bug or something like that, then go for gold. It's there. As someone who dedicates the majority of their YouTube channel to finding the best possible ways to improve your gameplay, it would be kind of wrong of me to draw the lines at lean spamming. It's a legitimate part of the game whether you like it or not. It's frustrating to deal with, I agree, but it is a legitimate part of the game. However, the developers have decided that as it currently stands, it's not the right call for their game, and I think I have to agree to a certain extent. Lean spamming is obviously heavily utilized in the highly skilled portion of the community, and I respect that it was or is a perfectly legitimate thing to do and utilize in the game. It's available to you, anyone can do it, so why shouldn't you? I also don't want to see all of the elements of the game's skill curve get gutted in favor of accessibility, but I'm also not sure that this particular change to lean spamming represents a concerning slippery slope down that path of gutting the game's skill curve. There's still plenty of movement opportunities, abilities to win a gunfight through core aiming and positioning, and skill will still prevail in a lot of these fights without the presence of lean spamming. There's just one less, slightly obnoxious tool that you will be able to rely on now if you were someone who used lean spamming quite a lot. We'll have to see how it pans out when the update launches and just how impactful this rather obscure nerf is at this point. But alright, we've already opened up that can of worms right there. We now have some weapon balancing conversation through the update to talk about as well. It's clear that the developers are doing their best to really improve the overall feeling of balance across the weaponry arsenal, and the next few steps that they're taking are certainly making the right strides in the right direction. I don't have an exact source for this, but I have heard down the grapevine that the developers are looking to really iron out any of the kinks with the current weapon balancing before adding any more weapons to the game, making sure that they are adding to a stable foundation, if you will, which is a fair approach in my opinion and ensures that the workload remains manageable as more weapons are added to the game. I believe the same treatment is also slated to arrive for attachments as well in the future. But as far as these balance changes themselves are concerned, we firstly have some big changes coming to the Honey Badger and the AS Val. And man guys, after these weapons copped the most serious of whacking from the Nerf bat back in the playtesting stage of the game, these weapons have been needing some love. Starting with the Honey Badger, it's getting the following changes. Damage is being lowered from 32 to 28, vertical recoil is also being lowered from 1.5 to 1.25, horizontal recoil is being lowered from 1.9 to 1.1, velocity is being lowered to 400, accuracy is being increased from 68.75 to 72.75, fire rate is being increased from 800 to 880, the sound spread is being lowered from 600 600 to 200. The reload time is being lowered from 4.17 seconds to 3.79 seconds. The base magazine capacity is being increased from 24 to 25, and the damage fall-off distance is being increased from 20 meters to 40 meters. So yeah, a lot there and a lot of love coming to the Honey Badger. I also recognize the irony that comes from me having only just reviewed this weapon, but for it to be copying these changes. Timing is a real bitch in the content creator space at times, folks. But I must say, despite my somewhat angst at the gun getting a change right after I review it, I must say I'm loving the changes. It's going to really make the Honey Badger a far more consistent player in its role as a stealthy, silent, flanking style of weapon. The recoil and the accuracy buffs are going to go a stupidly long way in making the weapon feel more consistent, and the sound spread nerf. That may actually very well solidify this weapon as one of the key flanking weapons in the game. The damage nerf is going to hurt a little bit in the consistency department when it comes to dealing with, heavier armored targets, but in aggregate, especially with the, rate of fire increase as well, this looks like a pretty solid improvement in my opinion. The AS Val is also getting the following changes as well. Horizontal recoil lowered from 1.9 to 1.2, accuracy increased from 68.75 to 75, sound spread lowered from 600 to 200, control lowered from 0.86 to 0.8, I still don't know what control actually does, reload time increased from 3 seconds to 3.33 seconds, and damage fall-off distance increased from 20 meters to 40 meters. Again, the change to the horizontal recoil and accuracy in particular is going to do nothing short of completely change how good this weapon is going to feel by comparison to where it is now. It's also getting the same sound spread changes that the Honey Badger received as well, which is definitely going to tick some boxes for a lot of players out there. Some small nerfs to that reload speed here as well, which I'm not entirely sure was necessary, but hey, it is what it is. Now, the next weapon that's getting some love in the update is actually one that I wasn't expecting to get some love so soon, but here we are. It's the Ultimax LMG, folks, and yeah, it's actually getting some interesting changes. The Ultimax will be seeing an increase to reload speed by 10%, a reduce of its first shot kick from 2.0 to 1.5, a reduce of its vertical recoil from 1.5 to 1.1, an increase in its ADS speed from 0.35 seconds to 0.3 seconds, and an increase in its run speed from 0.9 to 0.925. The Ultimax has always felt like this more of a calm and collected version of the M249, sporting a much weaker damage output by comparatively, yes, but also sporting a rather easy to manage firing platform, especially under longer bursts where the M249 comparatively may get away from you. These changes actually really help to cement the Ultimax into that role a little bit more, whilst also improving the overall mobility and responsiveness of the weapon if you get caught out with it, which I think is a step in the right direction to making this weapon a little bit more unique. It's not going to thrust the Ultimax into the top tier area of the game, but it might help to give it a slightly stronger identity, which is not a bad thing. The G36C is also getting a couple of really small changes here as well, but nothing overly game-changing, just a small change to the recoil, with the vertical recoil going from 1.40 to 1.45, and the horizontal recoil going from 1.0 to 0.84. Basic stuff that will actually make the G36C feel a bit more consistent under longer bursts, so looking forward to using that. The UMP45 SMG is also getting some attention in the update as well, which was definitely needed. Between the two SMGs, the MP7 has always been the star-spangled favorite child against the UMP45, and with these changes, it may actually feel a bit better to use, all things considered. Damage is being increased from 25 to 28, vertical recoil is being increased from 0.9 to 1, horizontal recoil is being increased from 0.5 to 0.65, velocity is being lowered from 500 to 475, and the damage fall-off starting distance is being reduced from 50 meters to 30 meters. Now, that may sound like a lot of nerfs to the gun, but the damage buff from 25 to 28 in particular is going to give the UMP a bit more potency against armored targets, which is where it tends to fall really by the wayside at the moment. As I said, there's obviously some nerfs to compensate for such a buff, but I think that in aggregate, the UMP is going to feel a touch better, all things considered. But one of the more interesting changes to me that's going to be happening in this little old update is going to be happening to the little old PP2000. This little meme machine pistol that most seem to just completely ignore outright is also getting a bit of love here in multiple ways. here's what's changing. The damage being increased from 23 to 24. The vertical recoil is being reduced from 1.2 to 1.1. There's going to be an increase in fire rate from 900 rounds per minute to 1000 rounds per minute. Aim down sights time is going to be reduced from 0.2 seconds to 0.15 seconds. And there's going to be also another reduce in damage fall off starting distance from 50 meters to 30 meters. Overall, those key highlights there are definitely the rate of fire boost and the mobility improvement when it comes to the ADS time. It's essentially going to put it on par with the MP7 for mobility, I believe, adopting a slightly stronger spray and pray mentality, yet a weaker damage output altogether against the MP7. Overall, I think that's going to give the PP2000 a bit more of a reason to exist, and I'm actually looking forward to getting my hands on the weapon and testing it when it drops. Oh, and as a final note, it's worth pointing out that the FAMAS is also getting a buff as well, moving from 24 damage to 26 damage, which means that, yep, the FAMAS is now a permanent 4-shot kill at all times. That is going to greatly improve the weapon, so get ready to see more of the FAMAS running around, I feel, because that is a huge game changer. Now, that's it for all of the weapon changes that we've seen so far coming in the update, noting that more could drop ahead of this update deploying that we don't actually know about yet. Overall, really liking the direction the devs are taking with these weapon balance changes. It feels like they're getting a bit better at giving weapons strong yet competitive identities as they spend more time watching the game evolve and play out just in the hands of the player base. So that's great to see. There are a couple more changes coming to the game as well that I think are worth of noting in this update, primarily around the anti-grenade trophy system as well as prestiging. The anti-grenade trophy system has been a huge impact on the game's balance since it came out, at times completely stopping the grenade spam in its tracks, which, let's be real, ain't the end of the world when it comes to, improving the game flow, but it has felt a bit rough around the edges in its implementation to the game. As of this update, the anti-grenade trophy will be moved to the light gadget section from the heavy gadget section. The anti-grenade trophy will no longer destroy friendly grenades, and the anti-grenade trophy will give XP when it destroys a grenade. So, for all of you players out there that are doing God's work and putting the anti-grenade trophy system to use to save us from grenade spam, you're actually going to get an XP reward for doing so now, which, again, is a good thing to see. In addition, and this is something that I mentioned in my most recent YouTube short that we posted yesterday, but prestiging will no longer reset your kill counts on weapons going forward. And just to really clarify this for a second here as well, guys, this update is not live yet. Don't go ahead and prestige just yet if that is the thing that's been holding you back, because again, I don't want to be held responsible for you guys thinking that you can prestige willy-nilly now. You are still going to have your weapon progress reset if you prestige right now. Wait for the update to go live first. Overall though, this is going to greatly improve the experience of prestiging, and it's going to make the grind that's attached to weapons when you unlock them again in just general rank ups feel a lot less tedious as well, and you can actually get straight back onto grinding for those, prestige 2 and beyond camouflages that you prestiged for in the first place. For those of you, like myself, who have prestiged already in the game, don't fret. While Oki is unable to actually get us our weapon progress stats back to us, he is going to be compensating anyone who has prestige before the update with a unique skin of some kind, so there's something at least. But folks, that is the nitty and the gritty of the upcoming update coming to BattleBit Remastered. Again, a lot of significant changes in this one, some of which are going to impact the game more so than others, but let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on this next update for BattleBit. Do you like where it's going? Do you hate it? Would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Like the video if you enjoyed the gameplay, guys. It always goes a long way to supporting the video, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing because we've got a lot of new content coming out very, very soon. And as always, check out my Twitch channel, linked in the description down below, to come join us on our live streams for shenanigans galore. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.